I've basically banned myself from getting into a relationship. Not because I don't want one, I genuinely do. Not because I hate dating people, I absolutely don't. And not because there aren't any guys I genuinely like to get to know. There is. I've decided I'm not getting into a serious relationship for one reason. I'm in debt. And until that number hits 0, I don't want a boyfriend. Now I know that probably sounds ridiculous, because what does being in debt have to do with whether you can fall in love with somebody or not? Technically, nothing. I could download a dating app tonight, meet somebody tomorrow, and potentially end up in a relationship. But I don't want to, because I don't want to meet the right person while I'm still trying to fix the financial mistakes I've already made in my life. And there's quite a big reason for that. So let's talk about debt. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much debt I'm in, as there's some things I would like to remain private in my life. But what I will tell you is that it's enough that I eventually had to sit down, look at my finances and say, right, this needs to stop. And I didn't get into debt because I was just spending money for absolutely no reason. A lot of it actually started because I was trying to change my life. At the time, I was working in an industry that I didn't really enjoy. I didn't have the qualifications to easily jump into something completely different, and I genuinely felt trapped. I remember thinking, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. So I came up with a plan. I was going to become a locksmith. To do that, all I needed was a van. And the only realistic way I could afford one at the time was by borrowing money. So I took out a loan. Part of that money went towards sorting out the finance on my car that I already had. The rest went towards getting this work van. At the time, it just made sense to me. I wasn't really thinking, I'm getting myself into loads of debt. I was thinking, I'm investing in myself. I'm getting out of a job I don't like, I'm going to build a career. Life didn't exactly follow that plan. I ended up getting the job I'm in now, and I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic job and I've got no intentions of leaving it anytime soon. So suddenly, I didn't need the van anymore. So what did I do? I sold it. But the van had turned out to be problematic, because apparently I've had no luck with vehicles in my life. And I got considerably less money back for it than I'd originally paid. But here's the problem. The van can disappear. The money can disappear. The loan doesn't. And from there, things started to spiral out of control. That's probably one of the biggest things I've learned about borrowing money when you're young. You see something that you want, right? You look at the monthly payment on your phone and you think, yeah, I can afford that. What you don't necessarily think about is how much you're actually going to repay. You don't get excited about buying a car and immediately start thinking about interest rates. You just want the car, you sign everything, you get the keys, you're excited, and then eventually you realise how much that thing is actually going to cost you. Something might have a price of £7,000, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be paying £7,000. And I wish I understood that better when I was younger, because eventually I sat down and I properly looked at everything I owned, and that was my moment. Enough! I started thinking about what I actually wanted my life to look like. I want to travel. I want to be able to go to Benidorm with my mates without thinking about how much money I should be putting towards debt. I've got ambitions for my career. One of my biggest dreams is that I'd love to become a pilot one day. And becoming a pilot costs an enormous amount of money. Every pound I'm paying is towards decisions I've already made. Money that can't go towards things I want to do next. And then I started thinking about relationships. And that's when I realised I don't want one right now. Because if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I want to contribute. I don't want to constantly be the person saying, I can't afford that. I want to be able to say, I'm taking you out for dinner this weekend. Let's go to the cinema. Let's have a romantic weekend away. Or even better, let's go to Benidorm for a little holiday. And if we eventually move in together, I want to pay my fair share. If we're splitting the bills 50-50, I want to comfortably pay my 50%. I don't want somebody else having to compensate for financial decisions I made before we even met. And I know some people would disagree with me on this, because relationships aren't supposed to be about money. And they're not. I'm not saying you need to be rich before you get into a relationship. I'm not saying that people in debt shouldn't date. I am talking about me in this situation. This is a decision I've made for myself. Because personally, I would feel like a burden on my partner. Even if my partner never called me one, even if he said, I don't care about your debt, I would care. It's morals. And if I'm completely open about it, I'd be embarrassed telling somebody how much debt I managed to get myself into. Because I'd worry they'd be sitting there thinking, how on earth did you manage that? And the answer is, I was young, I was naive, and I made some stupid financial decisions. I saw things I wanted. I looked at whether I could afford the monthly repayment rather than whether borrowing money was actually a good idea. I'm not trying to pretend every financial decision I've made has been sensible. It hasn't. But I can't go back and change any of them. I can only try and fix them. And there's also a very practical reason I don't want a serious relationship right now. Dating costs money. Meals costs money. Dates costs money. Weekends away costs money. Holidays costs money. And eventually, building a life together costs money. Every time I'm spending that money, I'm potentially extending the amount of time I'm going to be in debt for. And I know that might sound selfish to some people, but I want to get out of my debt for me, nobody else. I want to get in a position where I can finally start using my money to build a future rather than paying for my past. That doesn't mean I'm locking myself in the house and refusing to speak to another man until my finances are perfect. Hookups, that's different for me. Friends with benefits, fine. Casually getting to know somebody, I'm not against that either. If I meet someone and we go to the cinema or we have a couple of little dates, that is completely different. What I'm avoiding is commitment. I don't want to start building my life around another person when I don't feel I've finished sorting my own life out yet. And I've already experienced how much being in a relationship can change your finances. In my first relationship, I moved to Orkney to be with my partner. Suddenly, there's rent, there's fuel, there's travelling back and forth to mainland, there's food for 2 people, and that is not a complaint. That is just life and being part of a relationship. Relationships aren't just cuddling on the sofa watching Netflix. Eventually, real life does get involved. Money gets involved. Bills get involved. Where you're going to live gets involved. And the next time I get into a serious relationship, I want to feel ready for that. For me, debt-free means absolutely no debt. I don't want balances sitting on credit cards. I don't want loans hanging over me. I want to start fresh. I want to get to the point where instead of putting money towards debt every month, I'm putting that money into savings. Maybe eventually towards a mortgage. And if I meet somebody who's also thinking about their future, maybe we can eventually put those goals together. Not immediately. I'm not planning the mortgage on the first date, but eventually. I want to enter a relationship thinking what we could build together, rather than how am I going to explain everything I owe. That's what I want. And hopefully I'm about a year away from being in that position. I've already brought my debt down substantially. I'm working on it daily. And for now, I've basically decided that serious relationships are going on the back burner. I just can't do it right now, guys, because I've got other things I want to focus on. I'm working towards getting qualifications. I'm going to be studying for my GCSEs. I want to grow this YouTube channel and get my videos in front of people. I'm moving house soon. I want to work on myself. I want to better myself. I want to get fitter. I want to lose some weight. Maybe see if there's actually a six-pack hiding underneath all this fat. And yes, I'd quite like to figure out what I'm going to do about my man boobs. I've got plenty to keep me occupied just now, but I'm not going to pretend that this decision is always easy, because sometimes I really do want a relationship. I'll see a guy I'm interested in down in England and think, I would love to go down there and meet him. And then I have to remind myself, you've got a goal. Sometimes I want to spend money on something and I have to remind myself, you've got a goal. And sometimes I do wonder, am I wasting part of my 20s doing this? Maybe some people think I am, but I'd rather sacrifice a year now than be carrying this debt around years from now. Because I can already imagine how good that first payday is going to feel when I don't owe anything. Getting paid and realising, that's my money. Obviously I'll still have my bills to pay. I'm not suddenly going to become a millionaire like that, but the money I've been putting towards debt, I can save some of it. I can travel with some of it. I can put some towards my future. And if I meet somebody, I can actually enjoy being with them without this thing constantly sitting in my mind. I can take him out for dinner. I can book a holiday. I can contribute towards our home. I can play my part, because that is ultimately what this is about for me. I don't think somebody needs loads of money to be worthy of a relationship. I don't think being in debt makes somebody unworthy of love. And I definitely don't think everyone should stop dating until they're debt free. This is not an advice video. It's just a decision I've made for my own life. I don't want to meet the right person while I'm worrying about whether I can afford to build a life with them or not. And more than anything, I don't want to feel like a burden to somebody I love. So for now, I'm going to work, I'm going to study, I'm going to make my videos, I'm going to sort my finances out, and I'm going to get that number down to 0. The dating apps aren't going anywhere, and hopefully when I am finally ready to properly date again, I'll be meeting somebody because I'm ready to build something new. Not while I'm still paying for my past. One of the hardest videos I've ever had to make, but it's a video I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of us get ourselves into debt when we're young, and a lot of us are too ashamed to admit it. A lot of us take the easy way out and go bankrupt, and you don't realise the effect that has on your life as you get older. You're not able to get mortgages anymore. You're not able to start a business anymore. Going bankrupt affects you in a lot more ways than you think. So whilst a lot of younger ones will choose the bankruptcy way, a lot of us will decide to pay our debts off and move past it. Alright, so men's mental health matters, folks, alright? Don't bottle your mental health up, and if you're in debt, talk about it. Talk about it to someone. Never bottle things up and never ever get yourself depressed, alright? I'm here for you, and there's a lot more people in this video that will be here for you as well, alright? Keep your heads up, guys. Like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends if you enjoyed. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one.